friends. I'm Paola.
And I'm Carolina.
And you're listening to Grace,
Giggles
and Girl Talk.
Where girl talk is welcome.
Faith is our foundation.
And laughing is basically our love language.
Every week we talk about real conversations of what's happening in our lives, at school, friends, and hopefully just take a minute and see what is it that God is trying to teach us.
Plus some Q&A and maybe some singing because we can't help ourselves.
Welcome to the show.
Week 4.
Woo-woo! Episode number 4. We are having a lot of fun, aren't we?
Yeah.
This week, we're changing a couple things. Actually, like in the episode and when we're dropping the episode, we're just trying to see if dropping the episode on Sunday makes sense or if we should do it like
Tuesday.
on a
Thursday.
Anyway,
Day.
so if you miss it, let us know. If you feel like it's better during the week or whatever, just let us know because we're still just trying to figure out what that looks like.
Hey, but so last week, I asked you guys what your favorite Christmas tradition was. And I'm pretty sure a ton of people answered. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to read.
We're going to jump right in. We were supposed to do like a recap of the week, but we're just going to jump in into
recap. Okay, so last week, very busy week.
Yeah.
The question more is not what did we do. It was more what didn't we do.
Yeah, because we were everywhere. We had our company Christmas party. Carolina was an elf. She was the cutest little elf ever. And she was making funny faces the whole time people were taking pictures with Santa. And then we had an event in Versailles and she helped me make
reindeer food.
Every parent's favorite thing the night before Christmas to go drop, which this is actually a pretty great segue because if you make that a tradition of you want to
see your reindeer food?
Well, sure, if you want to grab one, I guess. I mean, if people are listening from their car, they won't be able to see it. But we basically had this little station set up.
This one's my little brother's because I made him one.
All right.
I guess this is completely pointless if you're not watching
on YouTube or Spotify.
Yeah.
But basically, what did we tell the kids to do?
We told them night before Christmas, so Christmas Eve night, you got to ask your mom and dad first because very, very important step.
Yes.
If they let you go outside, which they should, Miss Spirit.
Okay.
You got to take this and you got to sprinkle it all over the yard and the sprinkles make it to where the reindeer see your house and they go, we should go there, Santa.
Because there's sugar, so we should go eat the sugar.
Yep.
And then Santa leaves all the Christmas gifts that they're supposed to and have their bellies full and then go somewhere else.
Yep.
So, some people maybe do that every year. We don't know. But that would be a great tradition to start.
Yeah, that would be
Not
awesome.
at our house because maybe, I don't know. Anyway.
We live in the country. There's too many trees.
There's already so many deer. Anyway, they eat our pumpkins and all that fun stuff outside anyway.
Okay, so
let's just jump in.
Question for you.
Yeah.
What is your favorite Christmas tradition in our house?
So, okay, let me say this.
We celebrate Christmas differently.
Very different. Most of you guys know this. I grew up in Chile. So the traditions that we have in Latin America are a little bit different because a little geography. Yeah. A lesson. What happens if the country is below the equator line? Everything
is
flipped, right? So while we are in winter,
about Christmas in July.
I know. So while we are in winter here in Chile is
summer.
So Christmas for us was never a white Christmas. It was actually a very hot Christmas. We were at the beach or doing something.
You making sandman.
But so one of my favorite traditions, so I guess a couple of things, but the one that always sticks to me the most is on the 20th. My mom's side of the family always got together at my aunt's house and we will have a big barbecue. And then all of us cousins were together and it was awesome just to be able to have time with family. And so while we opened all of our gifts on the 24th, because it was so hot, listen, Latinos are not good at waking up early in the morning. So I feel like
they're good at staying up late, though.
Yes, very good at drinking coffee at 9:30 at night. But we would open all our gifts after we would go to the Christmas Eve service and have dinner at the house. And then when you're little, a lot of times your parents will let you go outside and show what gifts you got. So all your little friends that live in your street. So we were playing till late at night. So I guess that's somewhat of my tradition. So when I got married with Kelly, in our very first Christmas, Eddie was like, well, what are we doing? And I'm like, what do you mean what we're doing? We're supposed to be opening Christmas gifts. And he was like, nobody opens Christmas gifts on the 24th. Like, you're supposed to like put PJs on and watch a movie and get up early in the morning. I'm like, who does that?
That's overrated.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I know you haven't asked me what my favorite Christmas
Yes,
tradition is.
but what is it?
So we open our Christmas presents on the 24th, but my favorite tradition is probably my grandma lives in Texas, Etha. She lives
Yeah.
in Texas. And so on the 24th, Christmas Eve day, more like noon, she comes and she celebrates Christmas with us, and it's really awesome. And our cousins moved to Louisville not so long ago, so now they celebrate with us too. And so we all come to our house and we host Christmas Eve, and we ate Chilean food, poor people's food.
Poor people food. That's what Carolina calls it.
No, that's what I called it when I was like 5.
Yeah.
Because
So I love that because we actually get to eat not your traditional Christmas dinner, but we eat Chilean food and think that maybe we're at the beach.
we're not.
We're not. And it is so cold.
It was snowing outside last night.
Yeah.
Like, we've shoveled our driveway.
More times than we probably have in a while. Like this week, we have shoveled our driveway like 2 times already. That's a lot. Anyway, you had a great question last week. What was that?
What is your favorite Christmas tradition? / what are your Christmas traditions?
Yeah, so we did get actually a lot of you reply to it. We put it on our social media and then I shared it on my personal side. And so all of you guys are fairly warned that we were going to read them. So if you want to, you'll read some and I can read some.
You can read your text message ones and I'll read the ones off.
Okay, so we'll just say the first name.
Disclaimer, I might be really bad at pronouncing names.
All right. What's the first one, Carito?
Okay, so the first one is from Shelby, and she said, Christmas morning breakfast, opening presents, of course, and we always watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I have no clue about it.
Yeah, that's the movie that you've watched that movie. That's the movie that Mimi and Poppy really like.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'll read another one. Erin said Christmas Eve service and singing Silent Night with candle. I love that. That's one of my favorite. Yeah. When they turn all the lights and then everybody just, I love that.
From Kimberly, she said, for dinner on Christmas Day, we go to New China. Started about 10 years ago. Where is New China?
I'm assuming that's a restaurant here in Frankfurt, maybe? I don't know. We'll have to ask Miss Bemis.
Okay, so you go next.
All right. Amber said making Christmas candy and cookies with my girls. And I said, I love this. And then she said, it's one of my favorite. It always makes me think of times I spent with my grandmother in the kitchen. And I hope as my daughters get older, it's a tradition they will continue with their own children. And so then I said, is there a favorite candy or cookie that you guys make? And she said, we make a lot. My grandmother passed away and I took over her candy making when her illness got worse. Chocolate fudge, peanut butter fudge, coconut balls, peanut butter balls, chocolate turtles, and chocolate chip cookies. It sounds like we need to get on Miss Amber's nice list so she can give us some.
Can I just call her Miss Tiggis?
Yes.
Okay, so for Miss Tiggis, when I had my oldest son, I bought Christmas books, one for each night, from December 1st to 24th. I would wrap them up, and each night we would unwrap them one and read it. As I had additional children, they grew older, we added more books and had chapter books instead of board books. They loved it, and so did I. I also love loading up the car and taking everyone to drive around looking at the Christmas lights.
Oh, I love that they read a book.
We should do that because we don't read.
Yeah.
Not enough.
All right. Here's one of the text messages that I got. Said every Christmas Eve, we always build and decorate gingerbread houses. This was from Tori. And we leave them out for Santa. And right before bed, we always read the Christmas story in the Bible. I'm 26 and I can't remember a single time that I went to bed on Christmas Eve before reading or listening to the Christmas story in the Bible. I love that. But the last few years, we have been listening. Well, we have watched the storybook.
Because that one's more fun.
Yeah. Well, what you guys are
the cousin.
Well, yeah,
and little brother.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you, Tori.
Okay, so we have from Jaden. It's not really a tradition, but when I write out my list, I make sure I put the size, make, model, color, and shape of what I want. If I don't specify, I'll end up with a size 18 men's combat boots. So that wasn't a tradition at all. I just felt the need to read that.
Well, I love that because if you know Jaden and her mom, that's actually pretty funny that like if you know her mom, she knows that she needs to give her very detailed things because Jenna's just the sweetest. Anyway,
Okay, so from Sarah, we have Christmas breakfast with fresh squeezed orange juice.
mmm.
Oh, you gotta have a lot of patience to make some orange juice, especially for a whole family. I also make my kids a photo ornament each year with pictures of all important things from that year. Sports, Halloween costumes, first day of school, vacations, etc. And these are my kids' favorite parts of Christmas. They love looking at their older ornaments and remembering things they've done.
So that's so funny. That reminds me of my aunt, Iliana in Chile. Not your aunt, but my aunt,
Okay.
your Ita's sister. She used to make fresh orange juice when we were little. Oh, that takes me back. All right. This is actually one of my favorites, Miss Gilbert. So she has, I told her, I said, you have two things that are your favorite tradition. Because every year, gosh, for the last 4 to 5 years, she's a teacher and she does Christmas around the world. In the last few years, I've been able to go and share how we celebrate Christmas in Chile. But she said, we do a million Christmas parties with our family and friends, and I always love that. My mom buys all the grandkids a new ornament every year, and we take them to Southern Lights. It is always chaotic, but a lot of fun. We also wrap the girls' doors up for Christmas with Christmas paper, so they have to tear it down on Christmas morning.
That's smart, so that way they can't get out.
So they're like a present. They come out like a present.
Like a present.
I love that.
Okay.
No.
So from Aaron, different Aaron than what she read from, I think.
Yes.
But so, when the kids were 1 and 2, I had to work on Christmas Eve. But it was a skeleton crew. We had patients bring in donuts, and there were tons of extra we brought home. The kids were so excited to see me bring in donuts that we let them have one each night with their new Christmas PJs. We've gotten Christmas Eve donuts every year since.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, so from Jocelyn, on Christmas Eve, we opened one gift from Mom. It's always pajamas, but every year we pretend like we don't know what it is. Then we decorate cookies for Santa. She just got exposed.
Yeah. She maybe her mom doesn't listen yet. I asked her, I was like, do you wear your Christmas? Because I wear my Christmas PJs throughout the year. Do you wear yours too? Yeah.
Christmas.
All right. I think we have one more, right?
2 more.
Okay.
Okay. So, from Whitney, we have, my family never really had any specific traditions that stuck. So last Christmas, my mom, Riley, and I went to see a movie on Christmas Eve and decided that would be our thing to do from now on.
I love that. I
Okay.
love Whitney too.
We got the next one.
Is this the last one?
This is the last one.
Okay. Is this a good one?
One of your besties.
It's one of my besties.
One of her bestie boos. And all her other bestie boos replied to it. So, from Elizabeth, her bestie, my favorite tradition is my favorite things, dinner with my 3 best friends.
Yeah.
Well, her 3 bestie boos.
I know. I love that because, and actually this is a great segue into our devotional. Because I think so many times when we think about Christmas, we really think about the traditions and the things that happen with family. But one of the things that we started talking about in our last episode is we really talked about that the very first gift of Christmas is the gift of friendship. I am so blessed to have people like Elizabeth and Miss Leah and Leslie that every year.
Y'all know who you are?
Yeah. Every year we do like a little dinner where we share our favorite things.
Didn't you guys only start that last year?
Yeah, but Miss Elizabeth said if you do it more than 2 years, it's a tradition. So I guess it's a tradition.
Well, they've
now.
done it 2 years now. So
Yeah.
I guess so.
So anyway,
Okay.
take us.
Full disclaimer. Mom usually writes the devotionals, and this week she asked me to write the devotional. So this devotional is from me and fully me, okay? So Since that last tradition is hanging out with friends, our devotional this week is going to be talking about the friendship of Mary and Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And so, one of the funny thing about their friendship is their range of age is really different. So, it's estimated, because we don't know exactly how old they are.
Yeah.
But it's estimated that Mary was around 14 to 15 years old when she was pregnant with Jesus. And Elizabeth was around her 40s or 50s when she was pregnant with John the Baptist, which is their cousins, okay? And they're also family members. Like they're not just best friends. Like they're also family members, like they're related. And so, which makes them around like 26 to 36 years apart.
Let me introduce some things I think that you just said that are very important to say. Is one is that they were family, right? So there's a year difference between both of them.
There's like 20 years
Yeah.
difference.
And we're really, today we're really talking about Elizabeth and her husband, because Elizabeth was older. And one of the things in history that history tells us is that sadly, a lot of people back then thought that if they didn't have kids, is that they were like cursed by God. And Elizabeth's husband was a priest. And so she knew that that was not true. She knew in her heart that she wanted it to have a child, and she had to wait for so long. And so that kind of sets the story a little bit of you have a very young mom, right, with Mary, and somebody advanced in age, right? Okay.
Right. So one of the things I love about their friendship, though, is in Luke chapter 1, verses 39 through 41, it says that as soon as Gabriel told Mary the biggest news in her life, most likely, she got ready as soon as she got told. She got ready and she ran all the way to Zechariah's house. And Zechariah is Elizabeth's husband. There, and as soon as she got there, she entered their house and went to find Elizabeth. And when she got into the room, Elizabeth's baby inside her jumped with joy, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. I love that, because it's almost like John knew something special was happening, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then later, like verses like 40, Elizabeth says, "You are blessed with the one and only child of God." And then Mary's like nervous and scared, and Elizabeth just comforts her.
Yeah.
And so it really goes to show that your friendships don't matter like what age you are.
Yeah.
And Mary and Elizabeth were always there for each other, and friends should be there for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So I think one of the things that I wanted to touch base, and I love what you just said, is that I think it's important that we have two very different situations, right? Mary and Elizabeth. Mary was not asking to have a baby, and Elizabeth was wanting one, right? And I think for so long, she probably felt like God was silent. But just because there's absence and silence doesn't mean that God is not working. And I love that God waited for Elizabeth to be pregnant with Mary, could enjoy this time together.
Right.
And while the Christmas story really is not about Elizabeth and really truly is not about Mary, I know I've said this, but it's really truthfully the very first gift of Christmas is the gift of friendship. And so one of the things that I like is we have two very different individuals. Zechariah, when an angel appeared to him and told him that he was going to be a dad, he was at the temple and he kind of doubted that. Did you know what happened to Zechariah? He lost his voice because he doubted God, like what God was doing, and he couldn't talk anymore. But yet, in the silence of Elizabeth, she was still able to conceive a child. And so I love that even in the disappointments and even in the time of not knowing what's happening, God still rewarded that. And then I love that here's the gentle truth, right? Is that God still used Zechariah and God still honor Elizabeth. And then there's patience in the journey of waiting. And, one of the things that I love about John the Baptist with his parents is that tradition used to be that you will call your kids after a name in the family. And so everybody would tell Elizabeth after John was born, it's like, oh, are you going to name him Zechariah? And she was like, no, his name is John. And then, of course, everybody knew that at that time, Zechariah had lost his voice. And so they would ask him, what is the name of the baby? And he wrote it and he said his name is John. And so I love that they still honor that. But you said something really important while you were writing your devotional, and that is Elizabeth had a lot of great characters, right? She was an encourager. She celebrated Mary.
She supported her.
So she spoke life to her, right? And I think she really teach us. I think us girls sometimes can be very catty in the sense of
What does that mean?
that I think we can easily tear other females down instead of building them up. Elizabeth shows us that we are to speak life into other and encourage others. And I guess what do you get out of this devotional that you wrote in the life of Elizabeth? As you see your friendships, like what is that one thing that you're like, oh, this challenges me today?
Definitely how she's able to go from celebrating to someone to like just her characteristics and how they change so fast. She goes from supporting someone to being really happy to one or to, I don't know, like just her. Like there's so much about her that I feel like I could say, oh yeah, I'm good at that. But then there's also some where it's like, am I really good at that?
Well, and you know what I love about also the story about Elizabeth is that she had no problem on taking a seat back in the story of Christmas. Because really, we really don't talk about Elizabeth a whole lot.
Right.
And she knew that because she knew that she was not she was not the chosen one, but she was the one to allow Mary to know that while other people are looking at her like what's happening is crazy, Elizabeth knew that her role was to lift Mary up. And when everybody was doubting her, that she knew that the Holy Spirit, she was filled with the Holy Spirit, right? And so that I love that because in that moment, people didn't know. People knew that the Messiah was coming.
Right.
Right. And Elizabeth knew
Right.
that Jesus was going to be the Messiah. But it took time for people to learn that. And I love that her role was to be an encourager. And I think as females, we have to do a better job at lifting each other up.
Right.
And I think that's the reason why I love our podcast is because I think a lot of times you are so hard on yourself. And I am that way too. But
It's made over.
yeah, but I think it's important for us to take a moment and realize that God calls us to encourage one another, right? And, and, and to be reminded that God doesn't work in our time.
Right. God works on his own time.
On his own time. And that's important, that there is silence. And in the midst of silence, there is grace and there is joy. And that our time might not be what God calls us, right? And so I think I don't know what season you are in. And I know Christmas can be hard for some people. So if your season today is a season that is so hard to see God, I just pray that you would see joy, right? Joy is you choose to have joy, right? And so I hope that in this season of Christmas, you can find someone like Elizabeth that can encourage you. And so I guess my final thought is this. Every tradition we celebrate reminds us that God keeps his promise, right? Because in the Old Testament, we were told that the Messiah was going to come. And then here we are, 10 days away from celebrating the birth of Jesus, right? So what are your final thoughts, Carito?
I think this is a great episode. I really hope you guys like this. Christmas might not be the greatest for everyone. Like, wherever you're at right now, I just hope that you're having a good day and that you're just having a good season right now. And it's not, because it is Christmas time and it's supposed to be an uplifting, happy time.
Here's my prayer for all of you who are listening is that I hope that you can meditate in the quiet times, and in that quiet faith that Elizabeth had, that she knew what the promise was that God had for her. I pray that you will trust God in this season, in a season of waiting, in a season where you can speak life to others, and remember that God is always working, especially when you can't see it. And so I pray that your heart will understand the season that you're in and that you prepare your heart for the season of Christmas.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
And don't forget, God's grace is for you. And girl,
And boys,
you're loved and you're enough.
share this episode with your mom, your daughter, or even your bestie.
And we'll see you next time on Grace,
Giggles
and Girl Talk.
Bye.
Bye.